Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CDL podcast channel. In this episode today, you guys already know what it is. We're going to react to a little bit of recent news around rosters. Then we're going to just talk about the action from this weekend, kind of give our thoughts on everything that went down, and then wrap it up with what teams we believe need roster changes, maybe offer up some potential players. But Brock and I may not be well versed enough on some of the new challengers' talent to do that. But going to talk about what teams maybe should look into roster changes. If not, a lot of the league. Might be over half the league we talk about, but we'll get into that. If you guys enjoy this one, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. We appreciate all the support. Last podcast on YouTube alone, over 2,000 of you tuned in to check it out. So some pretty big numbers there. We appreciate that support. It was one of the higher podcasts, especially in recent memory. So we appreciate that big time. And let's just jump into this one. Brock, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good. This fine Monday, some good Call of Duty was watched this last weekend. Good matches overall, and excited to get into this podcast.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It was a good weekend, although I will say we can maybe talk about it as we talk about the placements. A little bit of a anticlimactic weekend. I mean, we didn't know who was going to win amongst the top four going into the weekend. We saw a world where maybe any of the four could win. Not shocked it was Atlanta Faze, but it's a little bit anticlimactic right now in the CDL. It's kind of like the top four teams are gonna make the top four for the foreseeable future, and unless a crazy upset happens and let's be honest, this weekend, when you kind of look at how everything went down in terms of the top teams being upset by a non-top four team, there really was only one instance. And oddly enough, it was Faze. Faze probably should have lost to LAT
Mm-hmm.
in winners round one. But other than that, I mean, OpTic handled Heretics, Toronto handled Legion, Subliners handled Breach. And then in the other top four versus other matchups, Toronto pretty much handled LAG. Subliners handled the Royal Ravens. Uh, so yeah, interestingly enough, the team of the top four teams that actually got pushed to the brink and should have lost probably was Faze, the team that ended up dominating and winning the event. So funny there.
Yep.
Very, very interesting. But real quick, Brock, let's talk about one roster thing. And then let's jump into the matches from the weekend just so we can get that out of the way. Journey officially parted
Ooh.
ways with Miami Heretics. Kind of a long and storied history, I guess, with the Orc, considering he was on the team back in BO4. Have to believe that some of this news kind of comes on the back of Real tweeting that his visa issues have been resolved. His visa has been approved.
Mm-hmm.
Have to believe that now they're like, okay, we have an extra sub player. We can now drop Journey. We won't need him. And you got to believe with the way this Miami Heretics team has been playing, Real, who typically I believe is a sub player, will be coming in for either Eric Boom or Metals. Metals
Yo.
was pretty awful this weekend. Eric Boom has been pretty bad since joining the team, and they can't win a map on land. I'm gonna go out on a limb and assume Real is coming in for someone.
Yeah, I mean that's probably the smart thing to do since, like you said, 0-12 on land and nothing is working for them.
And they were even terrible online this stage. I mean, they were in winners bracket, but that's very misleading considering they were 2-5.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't good.
Yep. So change is coming. For who we don't really know too much right now, but be interesting to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if I had to pick, this sounds weird because I know Metals has been playing so poorly, but I guess if I had to pick one, I still might lean towards benching Eric Boom just because Metals does have that super fast, aggressive playstyle that I feel like if it was on the right team with the right things working, Metals playstyle could work. But I mean, if you're going to go ahead and bench Metals, I can't really argue with it. Both of them definitely have their reasons to be benched.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know who he's going to go in for, but assuming it's one of those two, and I don't think just that one person change is going to be enough for this team. But it kind of all depends if they're willing to make moves and potentially switch out for some maybe non-Spanish speaking players. If there's other challengers players out there they want, if there aren't any more, I don't know how many more Spanish speaking players are really left in challengers that they could easily get onto the team. Because that's also a big part. Is I think they play from Florida, all of them. So they have to have somebody that they can very easily move out that has a visa already if it's not somebody playing in EU or something.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure on that. I also honestly don't know. Like I know Vickle speaks English. He was teaming with, English speaking teammates last year. I think Lucky does, but I honestly don't have enough knowledge into the team. I don't remember. Like I don't know, like some of these dudes might not speak good enough English to team Because obviously, if they like pick up a random NA player who grew up in the States and only knows English, he's not going to be able to join the team in common Spanish. So it does kind of put them in a little bit of a bind and limits the amount of options they have in terms of players to pick up.
Yeah, just kind of like an interesting situation with the team and what they're trying to do with the team dynamic.
Yeah, it's a super cool thing to me. Like they're building a Spanish roster, trying to get players from Spain or that speak Spanish. It's a really cool idea to me. This is the only issue that this type of roster has is when they get to a point where they're really struggling and need to pick up players. If they want to keep that Spanish speaking, mantra and like keep that as part of their org's DNA, which I think is really cool. This is the only part where it gets negative because it certainly limits the players you can pick up. Um,
Mm-hmm.
when you've got a number of players popping off in challengers, but they may only speak English or French or whatever language they may speak, it limits your options of players to pick up. So that does really suck for
Yep.
that team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, but Real should be coming in. So interested to see him play. He got to play just the tiniest little bit on Ravens, and we didn't get to really see much of him. I know he had his struggles here at times, but like it was such a small sample size, and people have all said that the kid is very talented. So excited to see him get his shot.
Mm-hmm. I
Let's
am
talk matches,
too.
Brock.
Yep. Let's do it.
It was a fun weekend though, like we said. We're kind of just gonna go match by match, especially like the earlier ones. We'll just kind of breeze through them unless there's anything we want to say on them. Uh, the first match talking about Vegas versus Toronto. I guess I did say like LAT was the closest to winning a match, which that one did go 5. They threw some maps. Vegas, although this was a 3-0, this series was very, very, very winnable
Mm-hmm.
for Vegas. They lose to Toronto in this series 3-0. It seems like that's lopsided. It's a 3-0, but it was 250 to 225 on the Rio, and Vegas had a lead and had plenty of chances to close this map out and just kind of trolled it. It was a 6-5 on the invasion search, a round 11 loss, where Nero pushed out when they had the bomb planted for kind of no reason
Mm-hmm.
and died. And then it was a 3-2 in control. So they absolutely trolled. The control wasn't as much of a troll because they did have double offenses at the end when they were up 2-1. So, I mean, obviously, invasion offense, pretty hard to win. But Vegas had a legitimate chance to win this series, which gave me hopes for them to potentially make a run, which didn't happen.
Yep. It was basically like what they did online with against Toronto. Basically the same as like how it was on LAN.
Yeah, it's tough because like they look so good and so close to just like being right there, and then they just come out and lose this and then end up getting a top 8, and it's like, man, you really look like you could be our 5th best team and you just troll it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just what separates these top teams from like these lower teams. They don't throw the maps that should be winnable or they should
it
win.
it's frustrating to watch though, because like you see this team and you're like, they're just so close to being not a top 4 team, but to being like a head and shoulders above the rest of the teams outside of that top 4, and they
Yeah.
just have trolls like that where they could have had a chance to beat a good team like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
uh Going into the second match of that day, New York, Boston. Uh, this one, 3-1 seems like it should have been closer than that last series we just talked about, but it wasn't. Boston came out. They did punch New York in the mouth, and I was like, okay, Boston's here to play. Like Asim popped off 28 and 16. He was going crazy on the map 1. Snoopy was going crazy as well, 20 and 14. Priesta had a nice map. He had a couple pop off moments. Slasher, was getting things done. He played well. And on the side of New York, everybody was just getting fried apart from Hydra. And it was like, okay, Boston's here to play 250 to 125, Skid Row hardpoint. And then the search woes just continued. They lose it. They get just absolutely dominated in the map 3 control. They like literally forgot how to play. I believe they lost two defenses to get 3-0'd.
Jeez.
And then the sub base, they just got steamrolled. It was just the Hydra Sib Kismet show just slaying them.
Mhm.
Boston, as weird as this sounds, we'll talk about roster changes. I don't want to talk about it too much, but they just get rolled. They're horrible at search. They can't win a search. It makes no sense.
Mhm.
Uh, we'll talk about it more in their next series. They just can't win a search, but New York roll them in Boston. Probably roster changes on the horizon potentially.
Yep. New York World Cup after map 1, and funny you say that Boston. They suck at search, but Slasher is like known to have good search teams. So
Yeah,
little
and
little,
I
little
feel like
odd there.
it doesn't make a lot of sense either because, like you say, Slasher known to usually be on teams that are good at search. I feel like Priesta in general, he was on the 100 Thieves team in BO4, like maybe his best team that wasn't the best at search, but I feel like a veteran player like Priesta can be a part of a good search and destroy team. I mean, we saw him on the Atlanta Faze team in MW and some other teams as well. The Rocker team back in Cold War, pretty good at search. Like Priesta can be a player on a good search team. And then I feel like Asem and Snoopy are really, really good players for a guy like Slasher to have because they are players that can get first bloods, play super fast, flashy, play for picks, stuff like that. So it seems like a team that should fit and at least be decent at search, and they are just horrible.
Yeah. Yep.
Third match of the day, not much to say here. OpTic versus Miami. Miami is horrible. OpTic, I mean, let's just the only way we can kind of like wind down this series, kind of talk about what happened. Shotzzy 1.27 was the worst KD on OpTic for the series.
I'll do it.
And on the side of Miami, just absolutely horrible. And this was kind of our first sign that OpTic was in sync. The kills for the side of OpTic, Dashy, Kenny, and Pred, all 52, Shotzzy 51, deaths 38, 39, 38, 40. They were all in sync with each other. They all had like the same kills and deaths. They were moving on the map as a unit.
You love to see that.
Then the last match, Brock, this is probably the one along with that Vegas-Toronto series that gets really, really, really hairy. This was a series that Faze, once again, Faze probably should have lost this series 3-0.
Yeah.
LAT trolled the invasion. LAT won the invasion hardpoint pretty convincingly, 250 to 173. It was a nice map. Mr. Dan Ghosty popping off on invasion hardpoint like we've seen time and time again. And then the map 2, they just absolutely trolled a lead in search. I believe they were up 5-3. I think they got 5-3 cursed.
Not the 5-3 curse.
They're up. They have a good map. They could go up 2-0. They lose around 11, but they end up winning the control. They bounce it back. It's like, okay, LAT, you're up 2-1. And then they kind of have a little bit of a lead on the Rio at one point, troll it, and then they get kind of smoked off the map on the final high-rise search to lose 3-2. They should have won that map too, though. They should have won 3-0, and this whole tournament could have been different if Faze gets 3-0 to the losers bracket right away. It's just crazy how like one little moment can change a tournament. Because imagine, Brock, if Faze doesn't come back from being down in the search, they go down 2-0, they lose the series 3-0. Who knows? Do they win the event from losers round 1? It's Faze, so they certainly could have.
Yeah.
But you never know how that changes things. All of a sudden, New York gets to play LAT in round 2. New York probably wins that. All of a sudden, New York is in winners finals instead of dropping down where they did. For LAT, who knows? They end up falling down and losing to LAG somehow. If they win this, do they carry the momentum? All of a sudden, maybe LAT's in winners finals. It's crazy to think about all the different scenarios.
Yeah, one little outcome could change everything by that much.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of the LAT champs and Vanguard in round 1 against Methods in Boston. Remember, they go game 5, round 11 in round 1 at champs, and they end up clutching up and winning a round 11, and they go on to win champs through the winners bracket and just rolling. Imagine that one little thing goes the wrong way. They lose that round 11 and LAT drops down to losers bracket. They might not have a ring.
Yeah, it becomes a lot more difficult.
Yeah, it's wild how that works. Let's carry that over into Friday, though. Friday was a decently long day of matches. We're down into the losers bracket, people getting eliminated. We had Boston, Minnesota to talk about first here. Oh, man. Boston, Brock, what we talked about earlier comes up again. They were able to win 2 hard points in pretty convincing fashion over Minnesota. But they get Neslo. They get dominated in control again. They were 6-0'd round count on invasion control on the weekend. That is horrendous.
Yeah, wonder why they keep playing it.
That was what I was talking to you about this weekend. Same thing with Invasion Search. They're horrible at that map. They haven't won it, I think they said on the broadcast maybe one time, and they just keep queuing it up and playing it and getting smoked. It makes no sense. They lose both searches. Like we said, we'll talk about it later, but changes need to come to this team. Minnesota, they're able to get a win here. The stats in the series look so funny because they did Neslo. Everybody on Boston's positive and everybody on Minnesota's negative.
That is a clean Neslo, if I say myself.
It's so funny because you look at it and you're like, you screenshot the stats. It's like, okay, everybody on Boston had pretty much more damage than everybody on Minnesota, apart from Vivid. Everybody on the side of Boston pretty much had more kills. They were less deaths. KDs are looking better. Yep, Boston probably 3-0'd. And then you look at it and it's like, actually, no, Boston lost. Oh, okay. Well, I guess they must have gotten Neslo'd, which is obviously the case here.
Yep.
So
Just
they're eliminated from the tournament. Rough showing from Boston.
yeah, rough showing. We expect more out of them with the team that they have.
And it's so weird because they're gonna have to make a change, and it's like kind of weird for who you make a change for. Um,
Yeah, it's I wouldn't know who to really pinpoint and pick out
yeah,
as the one to be gone or substitute out.
we'll talk about that at the end when we talk about roster changes. But speaking of changes potentially on the horizon, Brock, LAG takes out LAT. So LAT, this whole online split, looking a lot better, looking much improved from where we saw them. They get to the winners bracket as one of our top seeds among the rest of the teams apart from the top 4 teams. They
Mhm.
look really good. They play Faze really tight. Like I said earlier, should have beat Faze. We're like, okay, LAT, they get to fall down and play LAG, and then they're probably going to play Rocker or Boston. Like, this is a chance to make a top 6 run for LAT. They end up not winning against LAG in a shocking fashion. Um, just not much else to say here other than I couldn't believe my eyes. They got 3-0 on control. They lost a round 11 in the search, especially after the first map. They smoked them. LAG did not look like they were on their level.
Mhm.
LAT was just outgunning them, outclassing them. It was like, okay, this is a 3-0. And then they didn't win a map after that. It was a very, very odd series. Like everything seemed to point to an LAT 3-0 after map 1. And then it just flipped on its head and LAG won 3 straight maps.
Yeah, the curse still is there for LAG. Still own the rivalry of Battle of LA.
Oh, yeah. They fully own it at this time.
Yep.
So I don't know. I don't know if Hilltime stats are actually accurate or not. They don't seem like they can be on breaking point here because like the total hill time, if you add it up, yeah, it has to be wrong. I was about to say it says Afro was 0 seconds in the hill in map
Mhm.
4, but it can't be right because the rest of the players don't add up to their total time. So disregard
Yeah.
must be an incorrect input. I was about to say if Afro actually had 0 hill time, which we can't tell because the CDL broadcast doesn't show us hill time.
Yeah, they definitely should show hill time.
It's been a glitch forever, and they somehow just haven't fixed it or addressed it.
Yeah, I mean, we're not shocked though. We're not
Yeah.
shocked.
Um, Quickly, Brock, I kind of want to get into more of the important matches from the weekend.
Yep.
Carolina, Miami. Carolina smoked. Not much to say here. Miami's horrible. Carolina is a team that does step it up on land. It was really good to see Clay have a really good series in this one.
Definitely. Playing the boys,
Uh,
comes to land is, they're locked in, they're locking more.
yeah. And Fellow as well. He isn't like amazing, but he plays much better on land. Uh, Next series, Brock, Seattle Surge, broken team, right?
Yeah.
They go down. They put up a little bit of a fight by winning the search and destroy. They kept the hard points somewhat competitive, but this was an attached bounce back series. He didn't play nearly as well against Toronto. He bounced back big time in this one. Purge had a decent series in this one as well. Uh, I love this Geo kid. I know he only had a .9 in this series, but I like his POV on the map. He seems to play aggressive. He's a shooter. Uh, he's going to chow. He has good gun skill. I feel like he can be a pretty good search and destroy player. I think this Geo kid is the real deal. I think we'll talk about this later. This is the most adamant I am on a roster change, but this attached Geo Nero trio has a legit chance to like solidify themselves as a consistent top 5 team, in my opinion.
hmm
This Purge guy, though, on the other hand, I know he had a decent series here, but not feeling it. We'll talk about his play later on when they got eliminated.
Yep. Agree with you
Um,
there.
yeah, Rocker LAG Brock, your LAG boys take out Rocker. Same thing as the LAT series. They lose map 1. It's looking grim maybe, and then they come out and just rattle off 3 straight wins to win the series. And overall, just an overall slaying masterclass from the side of LAG. You just look at the kill feed for them.
Oh, I'm looking.
Assault with a
Jeez.
1.35 World War II champs play style here from Assault. Highest
Jeez.
damage dealer in the lobby.
That's just all the salt.
Yeah.
Man. I just, this soccer team just disappoints me more and more.
Yeah, Brock. We'll talk about it once again at the end. I keep saying it, but there's a man on this team that needs to be changed out. I think the rest of the team could be fine, but there is certainly a man on this team that needs to be changed out.
Yep. I'm just, we're proud of LAG because, both coming this year thought they'd be dead last, and they're putting up fights after fights in back-to-back majors.
they look horrible online, and then all of a sudden they come to the tournament. And I know, once again, you and I will talk about this, but I know he isn't playing as bad Assault. I'm not like I don't know if the team's gonna make a change, but I still feel like this team is like a consistent because Assault has good like series and maps, but then he has some maps that are just horrible. Like I think they're a consistent main AR or a consistent second AR away from like legitimately settling themselves in like our top 7. Because like I mean, we all know who the top 4 are, and then I feel like the rest of the spots with Vegas are up for grabs. I feel like LAT is probably up there. And like if they had a
Mhm.
more consistent main AR, LAG could slot themselves into like that top 7 in my opinion. Because
Yep.
Diamondcon, Estriel, and Fame, like those kids can play.
Yep. They definitely are. They're not no names or by no means, but they definitely shoot back and they're pretty good.
Yeah. All right, Brock. We're kind of on to the more important matches now. For top 8, Carolina versus Vegas. Carolina gets out to the 2-1 lead. They lose a close Rio hardpoint. And then they end up clutching up in the map 5, round 11, in maybe the biggest breakdown of the weekend. This was Vegas's map. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they had the round 11 won. They had the numbers. For some reason, they had the bomb down. All they had to do was just play time. For some reason, Purge decides to push up street. And, if he decided to push up street, that's one thing. If he would have just hit it really aggressively and just ran through to the fire car, the
Yep.
burning car, whatever you want to call it, uh, he might have had a nice play. He could have potentially picked up fellow, got a good timing, look to his left, having a sub compared to an AR, probably gets that close range kill. For some reason, he pushes up the street and decides to lay down right in the open and just like let fellow cross to the heady and just rip him
Mm-hmm.
and gives up his life for free. And that's the opener for Carolina to go on and win the map. Fellow goes huge there. It was just quite simply put, one of the worst plays I've seen in quite some time.
Yep.
Uh, and
Hesitated.
Purge overall in the series drops a 1.02, but it's just like I don't know. There are certain moments he went 14-3. It's a little bit of a fluky KD. 14-3 with like 3 minutes in the hill in that map 1. It was such a weird map.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he gives a 0.75 in the search. He goes 6-16 in the control where they got dominated. I don't know. Like he's okay, but once again, I just feel like if this team had some higher slaying upside in that second sub next to Nero, they just could be so much better.
Yep. I agree, and it's just that split-second decision making on that map, round 11. That if he hits it without any hesitation, he definitely gets that kill on fellow.
Yeah, I mean, once again, I don't think he should hit it at all. But if you're going to hit it with a sub like that, just hit it. Don't lay out in the open where you know somebody's going to chow on that heady, and you're just giving them a free kill.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Especially in that
Yep.
situation, I'd rather just not have you push. I'd rather have you play a credit corner, play an angle, watch a cross, just stay alive. You just need numbers in that situation. You have the bomb down. You have the bomb down and numbers. Like that should never be a round you lose.
Yep.
On a
Fully
pro
agree.
level, you should never lose that round.
Yep. Fully agree with when you have numbers. Yep.
Just unbelievable. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but unbelievable because this Vegas team should have potentially made a little run in this tournament. They look so good just for it all to end in a top 8 finish. But shout out to Ravens, man. Like we said, they improved their play online. They may have not won a hard point in the series, but hey, a Neslo counts all the same. Still a win.
Mm-hmm. Sure does.
Then our next team to get dropped down into the losers side of things, Brock, was New York Subliners against Atlanta Faze. Close series here. New York was attempting the reverse sweep. They were down 2-0, brought it all the way back to a map 5 where they got taken down. Drazah had a nice series in this one. Super high engagements out of him, 105 and 97. He almost had 21,000 damage.
Jeez.
Heck of a series out of him. It was the one series the entire weekend where Simp looked somewhat human, and it's funny to say that because he was 92 and 92 with 19,000 damage, so an
Mm,
incredible series by all accounts. But it was the one time he wasn't just slamming. So,
yep.
uh,
Good
good
series.
series out of those boys.
Basically what we expect from these teams. Very close.
Yeah, just to bang out, and FaZe were the ones that were able to clutch up in the map 5 is pretty much all you can say about this one. But two very good teams going at it. Uh, Slaying pretty heavy in favor of FaZe, but probably need to see a little bit more out of Hydra and Kismet if they want to win this matchup next time.
Yep. Fully agree with that.
Brock, then OpTic shows that the online maybe wasn't a fluke against Toronto. They beat them again. Toronto is only able to take the control in this one. Kenny having a nice series, leading the lobby in damage, even more damage than Scrap. Pred with a nice series, Dashy with a nice series, Shotzi's making plays. Scrap, that boy was the only one firing back. Envoy had another stinker in this series. Oddly enough, his damage output really wasn't that bad. He just was not getting the kills. He had a 0.6 in this one.
Yep. Sometimes it's just how things go. He's getting the damage, not the kills, and it's frustrating as heck.
Yeah, but OpTic, a nice win to see them translate it and beat our defending champs on land, kind of showing it potentially wasn't a fluke.
You love to
Brock, then
see
New
it.
York. New York kind of goes ahead and takes care of business against Ravens. Granted, Ravens did force a final round in the control, and they did force a round 11 in the search. New York takes it 3-0. Oddly enough, the guy shooting back big time in the series was Fellow. Gwyn and Tej were the guys that needed a little help shooting back in this series. They were letting the old ARs kind of do their thing.
Letting the old airs down a little bit.
But not a bad run from Carolina. To finish top 6 is probably better than a lot of people had them finishing at this event.
Yeah, it's just so weird how they're so bad online. They come to land and actually, they're good.
Oh yeah, I did see though that apparently they're potentially moving to a facility, all of them in like North Carolina,
That'd be big for them.
which would be big. Being able to be together, develop that chemistry, practice together, play from the same spot, maybe help the connection, maybe help the vibes. It could be a big deal for Carolina to potentially get better because this team does, with the way they look on land, this team does have a legit chance to be a contender to make it to champs. Then Brock, before we can finally get to our top 4 teams on Championship Sunday, we had to see Toronto knock out LAG. Pretty much a clean series overall from Toronto. LAG were able to win the search again. They were very good on search this weekend, but Toronto was just too much for LAG in the respawns. It's put pretty simple. It was just Toronto was just too much.
Not too much, but LAG went out. They got one. They got one before they got out.
Yeah, and for the most part, they kept the hard points like competitive. Like the Karachi, Toronto ran away at the end, and overall in the sub base, they kind of kept them at arm's length most of the time. But that Karachi, LAG kept it close to like 150 mark. They were keeping them in it, and they ended up falling to them. But LAG, you got to respect the fight they showed this weekend. They could have just kind of rolled over and died, since it doesn't seem like they're ever going to be able to make roster changes this year due to ownership and organizational stuff. But they didn't roll over and die. They fought, and they, were playing a final match on Saturday with a chance to go on Sunday. If you would have told an LAG fan that, they were going to be playing last match Saturday to try to go to Sunday, I think LAG fans would have been very pleasantly surprised with that.
Fully agree with that statement.
All right, let's move on to Sunday, Brock.
Championship Sunday.
We can talk about our top 4. We kind of potentially got a hierarchy on how things shape out. I'm still not convinced, because in this hierarchy, you would probably have to say Toronto shakes out in 4th. I'm still not convinced that's true. I do feel pretty good overall in saying that our number 1 obviously currently is Faze, and I feel pretty good in saying that OpTic is our number 2, considering they did take out New York and Toronto both 3-1 this weekend. New York and Toronto still kind of up in the air. I'm not sure how I want to place them. Technically, based on the way the results went with New York 3-0 in Toronto, you would probably put New York 3 and Toronto 4, but they're kind of in tied for me right now. I don't know how to feel about them. But to me, Faze is 1, OpTic's 2. Let's talk about these matches. New York 3-0'd Ultra in losers semis to send Ultra home in 4th place. Once again, 3-0 though. There were some close maps. It was a round 11 in the search. It was a final round in invasion control. It was a 250 to 192 game on Rio. Envoy, just a stinky in that map 1, 18 and 29. He had not the greatest search as well. Really, his KD in this series is a little bit lopsided because it was saved by him going crazy in the invasion control, 41 and 27. He was fighting for his life, trying to keep him alive. 7,000 damage. Heck of a map from him there. But New York, just a little bit too much for Toronto in this one.
Yep. Yeah. That's maybe a little bit complacency from Toronto, maybe winning the last tournament.
Maybe, but it's once again, it's just kind of like Toronto did look head and shoulders above other teams in Major 1, but we knew that was going to catch up to them. Whenever there's a team that looks head and shoulders above in the first major of the year, people usually always catch up to them. And like we said, like these top 4 teams are all so good that like Faze could easily go from 1st to 4th next event if they just have a little bit of an off Sunday because of how good all these teams are.
Yep. Or if one of these players are struggling, And maybe they were struggling the major one, they win, they struggle in major two, and that affects the team flow and every team chem and everything. Get fourth.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just once again, it's hard to take any negatives from these teams that lost today because I didn't see anything from these teams. Like Envoy had a tough weekend overall, and like you talked about maybe a broken controller and having to like switch some stuff up. But like Envoy is a player I trust to bounce back from a bit of a rough weekend. Insight also had a tough series in this one with a 0.63,
Mm-hmm.
something I expect him to bounce back from. I don't expect Insight to continue to struggle. Like I'm not worried about this Toronto team at all. Is kind of what I'm getting at here.
Yeah, I'm not really worried about any of these top four teams
They're going to stay in the top four until something shocking happens.
until the bottom eight make a super team and try to with one of
Yeah,
the
until the
teams.
bottom eight collude with each other and try to make a super team among those players. And even then, I still don't know
I,
if they're touching
yeah,
them.
just we're in a weird place right now, like you said before, the top four and everyone else.
Yeah. Let's go to the winners final then, Brock. Faze OpTic. Once again, this is a little bit like one of those series that if you look at the scores, the kills, the damage, it looks like it's pretty lopsided to the side of Faze. Everybody in the green there, everybody in the red on OpTic. But this series was so close
Mm-hmm.
to being an OpTic win. They end up falling in all the respawns. They just win the map 2 search in around 11. But I mean, the score lines and the first invasion, Faze was up 150-5. And OpTic bring it all the way back and had the lead at one point late in the game and lose 250-237. And, it was a chance to win it at the end, and they kind of blew the rotation there. They end up losing it. And, it's like, okay, they played them tight. They win a round 11 in a super tight terminal search. They lose the invasion control 3-1. And then another 250-237 on the Karachi, where it was just another crazy tight map, and FaZe are able to, take it away. So, like, once again, game of inches here. OpTic just total of 26 points in 2 hard points, and then
Mm-hmm.
they win around 11. Like, both teams were fighting in every map. This is a close matchup between, to me, what are our top 2 teams right now.
Yep. A couple of kills goes the other way for OpTic. They win one of these invasions for Karachis. And then, they could be in the winners, but, drop down the losers.
Yeah. I mean, once again, crazy how things shake out, but I will say FaZe definitely on this weekend were the better team. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
like they lucked out on some of these maps that were close and kind of fluked their way through it and like, oh boy, I don't know if that could happen again. Like FaZe were the better team. For
Yeah.
sure, for sure, for sure, the better team. Um,
And I was going to say before, I guarantee that, if Abezy doesn't do what Abezy did on the street, got like I'll drop like a 10 kill streak, you get the glide bomb or the cruise missile.
yeah.
I think OpTic does win that.
Yeah, on the
Just
Karachi that was. Yeah. I know what
yeah,
you're
on the
talking about on the
Karachi.
Karachi. He
Yep.
went crazy.
Yeah, he had like he just anything he saw just destroyed in
And
sight.
you could tell after about the third kill too. You can tell when players, even like players like our level, whatever level you're at, like we're nowhere near the level of Abezy as players. But like you can tell like when you're playing a ranked player, if you're a player that plays challenges, you play scrims, like you can tell there's a moment in a game where you just hit a flow state and like every timing makes perfect sense to you. You know where everybody's gonna be. You're just like slide canceling everything perfectly. You're shooting just different. Like everything in front of you is just getting zapped and like you feel unkillable for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Now if you're a Beezy, when you hit that mode, it's a little different than anybody else because you are one of the most talented players ever. And he hit that mode in that map 4. And I think I saw a thing, I forget who tweeted it, maybe it was Zero or somebody tweeted it. They said in like the final 3 hills, he doubled his kills.
Yep, he
He
went
had like 16
crazy.
kills and got to 32 in the final 3 hills. Like he just took over. It wasn't an easy takeover. Like seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I will say in the Karachi, a little uncharacteristic for Cellium to go about double negative. I've like never seen that before.
Yeah, and you know what? I have something else to say. We got just crucified by some people on Twitter and in YouTube, Brock, for saying that Abezy could still be in the superstar conversation.
Mm-hmm.
He almost had a 1.1 on the weekend, being an aggressive sub in this game, which is really not an easy role with the way some of these maps play. And Abezy hit just absolute takeover mode at points in the series, led the team in KD with a 1.2, 17,000 damage. When you go to the grand final, Simp, obviously, the MVP of the weekend, Simp was unreal, but Abezy with a 1.02 just setting pace. Uh, just an absolute beast. He hit that takeover mode again in the Karachi map, one in the grand finals. Like, Abezy is certainly a superstar player. Like, there's no question about that. He wasn't playing amazing to start the year, but once again, like I remember saying going into the weekend that like if Abezy has a pop off weekend, he's a player that gets the luxury of entering the superstar convo faster than others because of his history as being a superstar. Like
Yep.
anybody that doesn't think that Abezy can enter that mode at any point just hasn't been watching COD or doesn't know COD because this guy is unreal. He's one of the best players we've ever seen talent wise, and I mean he's up there in the greatest players of all time, and you can't even debate that. He is one of the greatest players of all time, no doubt.
Yep. Fully agree with that statement. And for what he does, it's just unreal. His
And
role is just so hard.
he plays the hardest role, and he just always puts up numbers. And he's
Mm-hmm.
not putting up empty numbers. He's putting like it's pretty easy with if you have the talent that Abezy has, you could easily put up a 1.2 just at all times if you wanted to just kind of, play for kills more, do whatever. But Abezy is running at people and just opening up the map for his teammates and still dropping 1.2s. Like what the guy does is unreal. There's nobody that does anything like him. Like there are players that can maybe bring the aggression like him. Like, I mean, look at a player like Metals. He's a player that tries to bring the aggression. He had a point 0.6 this weekend.
Yep.
Like there are players that try to play that Abezy style where they're just gonna like push the pace, get in your face, and just like play aggressive. But Abezy just the guy does it different, man. He's so good.
Yep. Fully agree.
Um, so that sends OpTic Brock down into losers finals where they get to face New York, a team who has sometimes had their number and eliminating them in the past, or getting big LAN match wins off them. OpTic wins 3 respawns and takes them out though, which really impressed me. New York has been a really good search team this year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just by the numbers, and New York did take the Karachi search, which OpTic has been looking very good on over the past few weeks or month. Um, but once again, OpTic able to take 3 respawns. Kenny, once again, playing so well this whole weekend, had a great control map with a 1.3 there. Dashy had a nice closeout in the invasion hardpoint. He was piecing at the end of the map there. And OpTic closes out Subliners 3-1. I think OpTic did solidify themselves with these wins over Toronto and New York right now as the second best team in my mind. But
Mm-hmm.
New York, man, they are very good. They found their form.
Yeah, they definitely found their form from their blunder of the major one, finishing top 12. Definitely be. All I say will say is it definitely gonna be a fun champs with these top 4 teams.
Yeah, and damn it, one of these bottom teams make some roster changes to make it at least fun where like you can take a map or two off the top teams consistently and like on the right day take a series because I don't want to sit here and watch the top 4 teams. As much as I like watching how good they are, it is a different level of COD when they play each other. It's so much more entertaining to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I want to at
So
least be able to like question if one of you are going to take out the top 4 teams.
yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. We're hoping that's for sure.
All right, Brock. Lastly, let's just quick touch on this grand finals. We talked enough about all these teams. Like we said, Faze clearly the best team. Simp just takeover mode in this finals. Guy is unreal. Um,
Sim.
Once again, I tweeted this weekend. People were trying to debate me. Brian Stats, he posts a lot of great stats content on Twitter. Was posting about like top KDs and tournaments. Simp had like a bunch from BO4. I replied to it, said BO4 Simp still may be one of the greatest players we've seen. I thought that was a non-arguable tweet.
X.
So many people thought it was a faded take that BO4 Simp's one of the best players we've ever seen.
Really?
I didn't say he was the best player ever because I think it's hard to like pinpoint it. I had somebody saying IW Formal to me. I was like, yep, great player. But if you want to say that, sure. But once again, Formal's big pop off event was Champs. Simp was just unreal, all of BO4 in his debut. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's an underrated part of it. Formal at the time of IW had been playing for a number of years already.
Yep.
Simp, this was quite literally his debut and he didn't even get to start the season on the team. He had to join them mid-season in BO4. Um, then we had people mentioning AW Scump. Sure, absolutely another incredible player. Um, Hard to argue against him. He won so many chips on that game. Ghost Crim once again,
Mm-hmm.
like excellent
Yep.
player, but like people were saying like it's not even close. It's AW Scump. It's not even close. It's IW Formal, and I was like, I mean, if you want to say it's IW Formal or AW Scump or Ghost Crim, sure. I'm not going to argue with you. Those are incredible players, but to say it's not close is that's asinine.
Yeah, he literally came in. I'm pretty sure they lost the first finals against OpTic. He came in and dismantled whoever they played next in the finals. I'm pretty sure.
Well,
And he was dropping 1.3s like
remember
consistently.
that what happened? They lost in the first event. You're right. They took or right up there. They were like one of
Top
those
three.
events. They finished second with
Mm-hmm.
JCap,
Yep.
and they ended up losing. I think it was the first event. You're right, but then the second event, he still couldn't come in, and they got dead last. They got 13th through 16th. JCap and Clayster blocked each other on Twitter.
Oh
Like
yes,
their
yes.
entire team was in shambles. Simp comes in, they instantly get a second in London to 100T. That was when 100T won their first event.
Yep.
And then from there on out, they go they win CWL Anaheim, I want to say, or whatever CWL event it was, and then they win the playoffs and then they win champs.
Yep.
They won 3 events right there. Like this dude is unreal. He came into a team that had players on the team blocking each other and wanting to drop each other and literally like hating each other's guts, and the dude carried them. Like I just couldn't believe that they were like potentially saying that like Simp couldn't even be in the conversation. BO4 Simp, like this guy is he's
Mm-hmm.
unreal.
The eyeball test tells a lot.
Yeah, he's so good.
And what I remember most about Simp, he would always do this thing in respawn, but it's the search that I swear he's always dropping like 12, 13 kills in the
Oh,
5v5 format.
if you saw Simp sniper on one side of the map, teams would just rotate.
Yeah, they would all you see their arrows all rotate
You're like,
instantly.
oh, Simp's on the side of the map. He sniped one. Might as well move. Like, we're not getting by him. Like, he's going to pick 2 more while we try to push up. Like, he was
Mm-hmm.
unreal. He's so good.
And
And
if
he's still
you
that good. And you can even argue in Cold. Some people were arguing in Cold War he was even better. Like, he's just that good.
that is just nuts. And I
Yeah.
will say is if you did push up through a sniper, you get clipped with one of the best clips ever.
Yeah. Clip on Arsenal.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I've been saying it forever since I first saw him playing BO4. He's arguably the best talent I've ever seen. And I don't know how people can even argue that once again, I'm not just unanimously saying no doubt, undisputed best talent I've ever seen, but he is arguably one of the best talents I've ever seen. Top 3 talents, probably up there with like Scump, Crim. Few players rival his talent. I mean, and it's shown by the results.
Yep.
Guy came in BO4 champs winner, MW in every finals, basically champs runner up. Then into Cold War, dominates the entire year, wins MVP ring. Into Vanguard, they don't end up winning events, but they're in second, like literally every event. They're still super good. He's still a really good player. Carry that into last year, MW2. They win an event. They're right there the whole time. First time ever in his career in like 5 years, he doesn't make a final in champs, but he gets third.
Mm-hmm.
And then this year, by Major 2, he's already looking like the MVP. He's broken the kill record in the series like 4 times already. Just keeps breaking his own record.
Yep. He's unreal.
Yeah. All right, enough gas and Faze. There's one player we need to gas on OpTic, and that's Kenny.
Facts. We need to gas Kenny so much right now.
Yeah, I mean, I've been going to war. Everybody knows I've been going to war on Twitter.
We both back Kenny
on a podcast, just backing Kenny, saying how good of a pick he was, how good of a pickup he was for OpTic, how he was the better pickup than Sib that a lot of people wanted because they need his leadership in game. Like Enable was tweeting this weekend, there were some maps this weekend that OpTic would have lost in the past had it not been for a guy like Kenny being on their team. Dude had 109 kills. Next guy in his team was Shotzi with 87. He was the only player with a positive KD in his team. He had almost 21,000 damage, 1.18. The rest of his team was below a 0.9. They just were not firing the same way. I mean, Pred at a 0.84, one of the worst series statistics-wise we've seen from Pred in a while. I mean, usually he's always putting up numbers. It wasn't horrible, but not the normal Pred numbers we're used to. Lowest damage in the lobby. Kenny was everything. I mean, he's IGLing for this team. He's not being asked to slay, but he was giving this team everything. I mean, Kenny is so good. I hope people finally shut up about Kenny not being a good enough player and how is he on this team. I mean, God damn it, he got sold this weekend. Like, somebody help Kenny. He played good enough to win. His teammates didn't show up for him.
Yeah, a lot of people thought Kenny would be the scapegoat for them losing, but no, he's definitely his other teammates were the ones that let him down this weekend.
Yeah, Kenny played more than winning COD. I mean, if they
Mhm,
win this if they win this series based on the way Kenny played, there's a chance uh that he wins MVP. I mean, he led their team in KD this event.
mhm.
He had a
Yeah,
1.09. Next on the team was Pred with a 1.04. Dashy had a 0.97. Shotzzy had a 0.93. Like Kenny was their KD leader. He's not being asked to do that. And he
yeah,
was he was frying. He's doing everything. He's, IGL leading them in comms. Like Kenny's an unreal player. And the fact that people doubted this pickup is insane. I've been saying it all year. He's crucial to this team's success. And let's be honest, he was the hard carry this weekend. And if you would have told me coming into this that Kenny was going to drop a 1.8 or 1.18 in the finals, I would have said, "Wow, OpTic, they probably handled Faze in this finals."
yeah, definitely. But now things always turn out to be.
Well, and like I said, Kenny getting a 1.18 in the series and playing as well as he did, dropping that much damage doesn't surprise me because I know how good Kenny is. But once again, he's not being asked to be the Slayer on this team. Like Pred and Dashy, Pred and Shotzzy, like whoever are the guys that
Mhm,
are typically going to go out and get the kills. Kenny's going to drop his 1.0, get a lot of assists, deal a lot of damage. I believe Kenny was also the assist leader on the entire weekend. This guy is just
mhm,
unreal. I just want to praise Kenny because once again, Kenny's my favorite player in the league, has been since I watched him play in World War II. And this guy just deserves unreal gas because he got so much hate when he joined this team for no reason from
mhm.
people that just don't know ball.
Yep. That just plain and simple. People who don't know ball just thought the pickup was not that good.
They look at numbers, they see Sib has higher KD, he should be on this team. And that's not a knock on Sib. Sib is an excellent player,
Mhm.
but he's not what OpTic needed. They have Dashy, Pred, and Shotzzy. They don't need more kills.
They need more
Need a guy who can
fundamentals.
direct the troops, more fundamentals, but also once again, that was my biggest gripe. People were like, "Yeah, Kenny's going to bring good comms, but like he can't shoot his gun." Like people acted like he couldn't shoot his gun.
People acted like he was freaking God or X or out here.
They were acting like he was going to be a walking .7 with good comms.
Yeah.
Like
Nope.
Kenny can still shoot his gun. They needed him more than Sib this offseason. I died on that hill. And once again, people also think that like you're just saying that like Sib's a terrible player by saying that they needed Kenny more. No, you just have to understand how roles work.
Mhm.
Sib was not what this team needed. This team didn't need more kills. It needed more fundamentals, like you said. And that's what Kenny brings.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
it was an excellent pickup, Kenny. Shout out to Kenny. I'll keep gassing him up. And uh,
I
if he has a
mean,
bad event next event, I'll just act like it didn't happen.
yep. I mean, there's a reason why, about 2 years ago in Vanguard, he was an MVP at champs on a submachine gun.
And like, I mean, this is hard for people to hear because they only like when you win events, but it's not an accident that, Kenny really has this come up in World War II, champs finals, runner up. Then BO4 champs, runner up. Then you go into MW19, just a weird, weird team, whatever, Cold War, kind of another weird year of teaming. He has like a million different rosters on the Thieves. And then you go into Vanguard. What does he do? He wins champs. And then last year, the team decent, they win an event. I mean, like when you go from just World War II into BO4 into MW19 into Cold War into Vanguard, first 5 years that he's really playing professional full time, he had 3 champs finals appearances. That's not an accident.
Yep. It's testament how good he is.
Yeah, absolutely. But overall, it was a very, very fun weekend of COD. We'll get off our Kenny soapbox now. Um, Very fun weekend of COD. The last thing I want to talk about, Brock, and we can just do this real quick so we can get the people out of here. What teams, Brock? What teams do we need to see make roster changes? We don't need to go through because, like we said, we don't have like this full database of what we all think of the challengers, players, and all that. But I want to just go through. I think we're both going to be safe to say like the top 4 teams, no roster changes needed. Like
Yep.
keep rolling. Right. I think we're safe to say that. I just want to go team by team. We'll start with the bottom teams in the standings. And we'll be like, do you think this team should evaluate a roster change? I don't need you to tell me who they should pick up, but maybe you could talk about who you think maybe spot should be at risk. And if you don't think they need a change, you think they should just run it for a little bit, then you tell me. But I think there's a legitimate case you can argue for all 8 teams that are not the top 4 that you could make an argument for them to potentially drop a player or 2.
Uh-huh. Well, first off, let's go to Rocker. I think it's time for Awakening. Time
Yep.
to go. He's just not performing the last 2 majors at all. Needs
Yeah, I
someone
just
doing there.
100% agree. I don't. Once again, it needs to be a slaying flex. We said we weren't going to suggest people, but it's been our running joke. We just keep suggesting him. He won challengers this weekend. He won the challengers event
Mm-hmm.
gunless.
Gunless, yep.
Um, why not? Maybe bring him in here, put him on this team with Vivid and Lins. And I do think really the only move that needs to be made on this rocker team is Wake for now, just to try it out, because I don't think they're going to get rid of accuracy. And to be honest, besides, he didn't have a great weekend this weekend in their one series, but accuracy overall this year has actually been pretty good.
Yep, yes.
And I like Vivid and Lins as a duo. I think Lins is, like I said, one of the rising stars of the league. And I think Vivid's a very good duo for him because he helps to open up the map. He plays so aggressive in front of him.
Yep, fully agree.
So I think it's just Wake. Let's go back to the bottom. Boston Breach. I feel like this is a really hard team because a roster change has to happen. I mean, they're dead last.
It
A
has
roster
to.
change has to happen, but it's
For who,
weird
though?
because like Slasher has played very well overall this year. I don't think you get rid of Slasher. Snoopy, I don't know that I'm that sold on Snoopy, but I think the org
That's
is
the
like
org is.
fully invested into him, so I just don't think they're gonna move him. So I feel like it's kind of irrelevant to talk about him.
Mm-hmm.
Asim has really been, their best player, I feel like, over the past few weeks. So I don't think it's him. I think it might be Priesta. But once again, I don't even feel great about dropping Priesta because I think he's an important player to a team. I feel like this is one I can't judge. Like they need to go on the inside, see what's going wrong with the team, and then make a judgment call. And I'll just kind of be like, okay, we'll see where this goes, and then we'll make our judgments based on that. But this is a hard one to call. Who should be moved,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion?
Yeah, it seems like the odd man out is Priesta, which is, pretty unfortunate, but like you said, we don't really know who, but if it is Priesta, some teams should be calling Priesta and, getting that
Wow.
contract ready.
And I mean, with the slasher ASIM connection, seems like it certainly could be a landing spot for our boy again, gunless.
Yep.
LAG connection, even though that was not a terribly successful roster. Uh,
Hmm.
Seems like that could be a potential spot for him, or probably a flex player at this spot, an AR player.
Yep.
LAT Brock, what do we
Oh
think here?
man.
My opinion, I think Ghosty, Nasty, and even to a point, Kremp. I think Ghosty and Nasty should be safe though. Nasty showed plenty of promise. Ghosty's been their best player all year. I think
Hmm.
Afro has to go.
Yeah, Afro is just not putting up numbers at all.
Too inconsistent. I think Kremp, you can take it or leave it. I think he has pop off moments. I think I would be more willing to keep him over Afro, but I
Hmm.
think Afro's got to go. I think I could take or leave Kremp. I'd be okay with you making a change for him, but I'd also be okay with you keeping him. And I'd keep Ghosty and Nasty, but I do think they had an unfortunate turn of events this event in not going forward because, like I said, they were a couple trolls away from beating Faze in winners round one, and you never know what could have happened for them.
Yep. I would say drop Afro and just put the substitute in Joe Thieves.
Yeah, definitely could do that. Certainly an option.
Hmm.
Miami Heretics, like we said, this one's tough because it's very limited. I'm not sure how many other top Spanish speaking players are out there. To me, it's like you're going to put Real in and then go from there.
Yeah, and just try to try to go like nothing ever happened like day one. Try to
Yeah,
see how they do, but I don't think it's gonna get much better by adding one player unless he's like simp level.
yeah, it's tough with their limitations on the type of players and which players they can pick up.
Hmm.
Seattle Surge, Brock.
I don't know. Put Illy back in.
Put Illy back in for Brezzy, and you weren't even that bad. You were like a top 6 team at the time that you had that.
Yeah,
I guess you could make a move for Arcitys. It doesn't seem like they're going to do that. I'd still like Hook. I feel like on a good team, Hook's a good player. Uh, you put Illy back in for Brezzy, I guess. I don't know.
that's all I have really. I
It's
don't
tough.
know what direction
Just
they're
blow it
going
up. I
in.
don't know. I don't know what to say.
Or blow it up. Yeah, one of the two.
Vegas Legion, Purge. I will say it and say it again. He has been playing better, but I still think this team needs a more consistent Slayer on the team. I guess if they really want to keep Purge, they can because They have looked better, and Purge has started to play better. I still don't trust him in some of these series. He just can't seem to come through in the slaying department when they need him most.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, I don't think if you're Vegas Legion, I don't think it's time to be conservative. Could you make a move for Purge for a guy that you believe could be more consistent in the slaying department and get worse? Absolutely, you may get worse, but you're the Vegas Legion. You've never had a chance to really be in contention, and you have a clear path to being the fifth best team in the league right now.
Mm-hmm.
And being right there, always lurking in position to just all it takes is that one upset, one time just to pull off an upset, and you all of a sudden make a run in winners bracket. You never know what could happen in Vegas. It's not time to be conservative. Time to take a risk. Make the move.
Yep.
Sign a more consistent slaying sub for Purge and try it out. Keep Purge under contract if you want, so you can swap him back in if it doesn't work out. But make a move. Try something.
Yep. Agreed.
Carolina, Brock. What do you
I
do
don't.
here? They moved themselves up into 7. Shout out to Carolina. They're now in 7th. They're above the line for champs qualification. They seem to be so good on land. Like they're very competitive. They're always in every series. But man, online it's gonna catch up to them eventually. They're gonna miss champs if they just can't win online.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Man, I don't think they changed though since they do so well on land.
I don't think they're gonna change either.
It's a weird dynamic. If they can do any they can be like 500 on online and just do that online every time. They're definitely gonna make champs.
Well, if they could be 500 online, it would get them to winners bracket, which would help them so much. They're starting in losers bracket both times, so it's so tough they can't make a single mistake.
Yep. It is very interesting this team.
Yeah, I guess I don't think they're going to make a change. If they're going to make a change to me, I do think Clay. You don't make a change for Clay midseason. It's kind of his team.
Mhm.
Gwyn, obviously, you're not making a change for him. I think Tej has been playing excellent this year.
Yep.
I don't think you make a change for Tej. It's obviously Fellow is who you'd make a change for. I wouldn't hate it because I know Fellow does bring a lot in the comms and a lot in like leadership, but I think Clay can do enough of that for you. But I do know that Fellow also makes Clay feel very comfortable on the map. I
Yeah,
know
those
there's a lot of
two.
comfortability there. Like they've been a duo at times for a while. So I do know that like that could affect Clay if Fellow's gone. But I wouldn't mind if this team explored picking up a little bit heavier of a Slayer to compete with the top teams for the
Yeah.
second AR spot.
Yeah. Mhm.
But they're getting a facility in North Carolina. I'd be interested to see potentially if they can make more progress, if they are all playing together. So I'm okay with them sticking for a little bit, but if they keep losing online matches again, you got to pull the plug and you got to try to get somebody that can slay a little heavier for the second AR in place of Fellow.
Yep. Agreed with that.
Last team, Brock, LAG. You want to say it? Even though he played pretty well this weekend.
He played better, but if somehow they can make a change, which we don't know if they can or not, they need an upgrade from Assault.
Yep. Once again, he played okay this weekend, but you can't let one weekend of a player playing okay cloud you from the fact that the change needs to happen. If this team had a more consistent main AR who wasn't going from dropping a 0.4 to a 1.1 to a 0.5 to a 1.1 to a 0.6, like the ups and downs with the Adam Assault are crazy right now. He has the talent to do it, but he's just too inconsistent. If they had a guy that could put up more consistent numbers, even if he could put up a consistent 1 and just do dirty work for them, like this team could really be a legitimate top 8 team.
Mm-hmm.
As they showed this weekend, but it's just too much inconsistencies on the team. It's Adam Assault. The rest of the players, I like Estriel, good flashes. Fame has some good flashes. And Diamond Khan's really been their best player for a majority of the year.
Yep. I like the player that you told me about that his team with Estriel in the past.
Yeah, Flames is actually technically their sub right now, and a bunch of people are saying he plays AR. He can play AR, and he was like Estriel's duo in Challengers. I don't really know how good he is, but like he's already on the team, so that is their one option. And I don't know anything about him once again, but I heard a lot of people say he can play AR. So
Mm-hmm.
like, if the dude can play AR, he's got history with Estriel, and he's already signed. Like, what are we doing in LAG? Let's take a shot on it.
Yeah, like we already know what Adam Assault brings you. Just so inconsistencies.
Yeah,
He's got to make the move.
yeah. They gotta do it. They're tied to this dude though. They've had him on the roster so many times.
I know. Yep.
That's it. That's it for the roster changes, Brock. And I think that's really, all we've got. Unless you got anything else you want to talk about.
No, just excited, for the next major, because majors are always better than these qualifiers, but want to see more COD be played, anytime we can.
The major, you're not wrong. Always better. And I believe we have a quick turnaround this time. I think matches start up a little quicker than normal. I think we maybe have like a week off. Let's see. Yeah, because the Toronto Ultra Major starts April 12th. So like this coming weekend and next week is off, but then we're right back at it a couple weeks from now. So like a little bit of a break. And then I think like, yeah, that's what it was. Like coming up after this, we go like crazy from like we get like a 2 week break here, but April 12th to May 19th are the qualifier through end of the major for Toronto. And then May
Mm-hmm.
24th starts the major four. So it's literally
Okay.
like the next week we're right back at matches. So there's matches literally from like mid early April through the end of June every weekend. It's just a constant flood of matches. So that's finally they're finally listening. No breaks. We're flooding us with matches, which I will take.
Yep. I will say before we go, I did I guess the winner right again on my
Yeah, you're two
bracket.
for two. You're 2 for 2, Brock. I
but
like to see it.
but did not guess the correct team that lost, unfortunately.
No, but hey, getting the winner right is really the part. I mean, that's really the part that matters.
Yeah, sure is. Might as well pick like OpTic or New York next major.
Just keep switching between the random top teams who you think's gonna win. I guess.
Yep. Yep. That's all I
All
have.
right. That's going to do it for this one. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. We appreciate all the support. Like I said, you guys have been absolutely crazy in the last one. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.